All right, welcome everybody. Glad that you were here joining us today for another edition of Mentor Connect. We didn't meet last week, obviously, because of Thanksgiving. But anyways, hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving break. And today's topic, really, we're just kind of running through the network notes. We all have networks here in First Priority, and a lot of times guys can't make it, for various reasons. And so this is actually going to be all about just simply rolling through those notes, rolling through just kind of the things we talked about in our network meetings, and giving you the ability to say, hey, I know I missed out. What did I miss out on? Well, now you can actually just kind of watch this and know what was going on. So anyways, one of the things obviously we do every network meeting is we just kind of go through God stories. And so things that happen on campus. And so what's happening in your world, what's happening on campus. And do we have any stories? Anything you guys want to share?
Yeah, so I was talking with one of our campus mentors today, and up in Sebastian, found out that we got a new middle school club going at Sebastian Charter, and they are actually killing it. They meet before school, running about 65 students. They're just getting ready to start their first cycle of Epic, and he already has an 8th grade girl that's going to be sharing the first Proclaim Week next Tuesday, a week from this coming Tuesday, actually. And pretty excited just seeing students get excited about reaching their campus, reaching their friends. And so just a lot of good things going on campus with students. Pretty exciting to see 8th graders step up, share the gospel like that. Pretty impressive.
That's good. That's good.
Good stuff.
That's good. Yeah. One of the stories that we had coming out last month was Park Vista High School's kid named Brandon shows up, and he actually got invited by some friends who were invited by an actual First Priority student. And he comes in and gospel was shared, and he was just talking about how, he's just kind of been dabbling in drugs and just kind of looking for that hope, looking for that escape. And here's Jesus. And that was all he needed. He accepted Christ, gave him a Bible, and come to find out another First Priority student gave him a Bible like a couple months before. And so it was really kind of cool to meet him and get to know that. And that was just a really, really cool story that kind of came out of that. So good stuff, man. Hey, Steve, I see you're on, man. You got any campus stories?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I can tell you that, like, yesterday I was at a club, and it was a middle school, and it was Proclaim Week, and it was a 12-year-old girl giving her testimony, and it was gut-wrenching in a good way. I mean, the joy and the love that she had for Jesus was so evident. It made the faculty sponsor, it brought her to tears. And it was like, I got a great picture of what we could be like when we start raising up more leaders like this who truly love Jesus and have a relationship with him. I can just see where this is gonna go.
That's fantastic, man. And listen, at the end of the day, that's what we want. That's what we want to see happen. We want to see our students leading the charge, not just like, hey, I'm leading a game, but actually getting up and sharing their testimony, sharing the gospel. Those are more powerful sometimes than just kind of inviting, your youth pastor to come, but getting those students to really step up and say, hey, you can share the gospel. You can share Jesus and in the midst of a big group. And that's fantastic. That's what it's all about. So we all try to lead to. We all try to be student-led clubs. And on the back of the network notes is this. It's actually just a little bit of our student leader commitment form. And not sure if you can see it or not. But anyways, here's the thing. We all want our clubs to be student-led. And we want our kids, we want our students to lead. We want our students to do this as their peers, as their campus. We tell them, hey, you're a missionary on this campus. And so we want them to be that. And so one of the things that we want them to do is number one, go through that student leader commitment form. We have issues. We had we had a video call, a few weeks back where we kind of talked about this issue. We talked about the importance of student-led and students doing it right. And so that being said, go through with your student leaders, go through that student leader commitment form. It'll be just a great opportunity for them to really see and catch the vision of what First Priority is. There's been times when students have gone through the campus, the student leader commitment, and they realize, oh, this is what it's all about. And so anyways, make sure they go through that, they understand, they know it. And put them into trained up. Make sure that you let your area coach know, your director know, hey, here's my student leaders, here's their emails. Put them into trained up. Make sure that they kind of go through that trained up process. They're going to get a little bit deeper into what Epic is, Equip Week and Proclaim Week and Connect Week. They'll really catch the vision. They'll see it, and it'll be a great opportunity. That way, everybody's on the same page. We want everybody on the same page, which will be really, really good. And also, making sure that they're using the 3-week planner. That has been one of the best things. Is probably one of the most underrated tools that First Priority offers for students is that 3-week planner. We always say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so helping students make sure that they roll through that. And that, and also, making sure that the Epic plan is engaged. Students learning, living out the gospel, sharing the 3 crown story, the gospel's being proclaimed. Students are getting connected to church. So we got some guys in here. Let's talk a little bit around table. How's the Epic plan being engaged? What are some of the results? What are some of the things you're seeing from a real positive standpoint of the strategy of Epic?
Hey, can I jump in? Let me jump in real quick, and I want to backtrack just a little bit about what you were talking about with the student leadership and going through training.
Sure.
And that is like one of the things that happened yesterday is like, I'm talking to the kids and whatnot, and one of the student leaders, I said, hey, so what church do you go to? And he's like, well, I actually don't go to church. I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm like, why not? Where do you live? And I started, inquiring, and I brought, and in this particular club, there's a pastor who leads the club. So I brought him over, and it's like, hey, you got Charles here who wants to go to church. Let's make it happen, and I put them together. And I say this to say that you can't, at least personally, I don't believe that you can have a strong leadership team if you don't have students who are actively involved in a church ministry, in church.
Absolutely.
In church, a youth group preferably, but definitely in church. And for this guy to be representing First Priority and not even having any semblance of church in his life or with his family, it's like that goes a long way. We got to do something about that. Now, I'm not saying that as a negative. I'm saying that this is an opportunity. So if you have kids who want to step up and be leaders, now the mentoring begins, in terms of like, okay, let's do the discipleship process.
Absolutely. And that's the whole point. We want students to connect to the local church, and being able for student leaders to be active in their local church, not just go occasionally, but be active in their student ministry, be active in their church. That's what we want to see happen. We want their friends to connect to church. And so by them being connected, they're able to help their friends connect. But man, Steve, you're right. We want students to be active and engaged in their church if they're leading. If they're leading in our clubs, we need that to happen. Because if not, then a lot of times things happen and issues pop up. They don't understand. They start diving off the deep end. They don't understand really what's going on, and so making sure that they're connected to the local church is vital. It's vitally important.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I hear over and over again from campus mentors and from student leaders is the Epic strategy is helping us accomplish that more, because literally a third of our time is about connecting students to church. Every third week is about that connecting point. And so one of the things for us is constantly making sure that we're tracking through the strategy, because it gets to lifelong disciple making for these students. If we get students connected now to a church, it's going to carry over when they go to college, when they become adults. The fruit of ministry, of student ministries, most of the time isn't seen for a decade. Where's that student when they're 28, 29 years old? and they're living an adult life now. Are they still following Jesus the way we demonstrated it to them? And that starts, man, getting them into church is really step one in a lot of ways of that. So yeah, I think the EPIC strategy just helps us stay focused on that. And the more that we maintain using the strategy, it's going to go a long way to helping students get connected and plugged in, where they get the broad picture of what church really is about, as opposed to really the very narrow focus that we can do in a first priority club. We can't do everything a church does. And so we've got to constantly partner with that church to make sure students are being discipled that way.
Yeah, one thing I would just add to our conversation is when you're dealing with new clubs, clubs that you have students, you want them to be student leaders. Obviously, they're Christian students because that's why you're in the school. But you have a situation where like they just have no clue. Maybe it's because the church they go to, they haven't seen certain things modeled. I know for me personally, I wouldn't know how to really talk to people and reach out to people to even ask them to come to a club meeting or something unless I saw that modeled by my youth pastor, Chris Lane, right? And I saw that happen just yesterday. I was in a club, and we were doing kind of a bigger event outside. We kind of moved it outside because it was nice and cool, and we knew there'd be people out there. And the students really struggled. The student leaders we have, which are great students, they've been in first priority even before they got to the high school they're at now and in middle school. But they just never had it modeled for them what it looks like just to invite people for some pizza and some games, like their own friends. They just didn't know what to say, what to do. And so by going with them and kind of modeling it with them, it kind of helped because they did some things that were a little goofy. And I said, okay, you just said that to these guys. So maybe next time try this. And it really helped out. And by the time that we were done, not only did, they feel a little more comfortable, but we had gathered up about 20 or 30 additional students to come hear the gospel. But it was through those students reaching out to the different groups, like on the patio, but like they didn't even know how to do it. They were like, well, what do I do? Like, okay, I'll serve pizza. That's the only thing I know I can do. And by the end of the day, now they felt more confident doing the things that they need to do. And we let them do it. It wasn't like I was walking around the whole way. It was them. So it was very exciting to see that happen, but it starts with us modeling it and bringing them alongside with us and doing it, because there's a lot of things that a first priority club leader should be doing and could be doing better, but we can tell them, but they don't necessarily get it a lot of times unless we kind of guide the ship, unless we kind of stand alongside them and show them how it's done. So I would say any part of the strategy, whether it's doing the EPIC part of it, whether it's reaching out to their friends, whether it's the 3-step planner, those are things that we don't do for them, but we model it and we do it alongside of them. And that really helps student leaders really get the most, and it gives them, a lot of confidence, because when they do it and then they do it well, they're like, wow, that worked. Let me do it again. And we've seen it happen over and over again in clubs that I've been involved in.
Absolutely.
Well, I think, I was going to say, I think that is especially true in a middle school club. Middle school students a lot of times have no way or no background of talking to others at that level. And modeling that is the first step of discipleship for them. And then it carries on over and over and over again. That's got to be something we do in every aspect of it. Equip Week, we've got to model it. All of those things, we model it. We bring them along. We let them watch us. We do it with them, and then we let them do it. It just is that growth process all the way through. That's where it's got to start with us. It starts with us, and we've got to be very intentional about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what Jesus did. Jesus, when he saw his disciples, those disciples, those he picked out, the first thing he just simply said was, follow me. Just follow me. Just be with me, watch how I do it. Going through that process. And then as they began to grow in their walk and they're seeing Jesus do it, well, then he started to release them to do that. He started to send them out. And then when he ascended to heaven, he said, now go and do what I've taught you to do. And I think one of the things that's vitally important is when we're allowing students to lead, the danger sometimes can begin with this kind of issue where we see things not going quite the way we want them to. But we as adults, as student pastors, we kind of feel that urge to kind of jump in and kind of take it over. And so I think the thing is for us to have a little bit of restraint and allow the students to do it, allow them, even allow them to fail at times. But if you allow them to do it and they succeed, Mike, just as you're talking about, that now really just brings a lot, just some great confidence, but gives growth and gives leadership opportunity, gives leadership development. I think that's one of the things that really is having the epic plan the way it's laid out, scripted from top to bottom. I've had so many people say, we're so thankful this is scripted. I'm able to hand it to my 7th grader who's leading for Equip Week or Connect Week, and they're able to get up there and actually do it. And it's kind of this breath of fresh air for a lot of our mentors who sometimes they're just kind of frazzled and just kind of coming in anyways because their phone's ringing off the hook, and then they've got meeting right afterwards they're thinking about. And this now allows them to just kind of say, hey, I can just simply pour into students to help them to lead better.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, just kind of go along with what you just mentioned, not just now, but even before, is that first, when we talk about, mentoring and all that kind of stuff, it really makes everything a lot better when we're all speaking the same language. So like you mentioned earlier, getting everybody trained up, making sure they go through that process, making sure they've seen the website and what EPIC stands for. So when you're having a conversation and you are modeling, you're not modeling from a completely like, wow, I've never heard or seen of anything of that before. And of course, the other thing is you got to let people fail, right? Every single one of us, every single person listening to this has done something and done it poorly and failed. But because of that failure, right, we've learned from it, and now we are who we are. And I think sometimes we forget how it was that first time we got up on stage, that first time we got in front of a classroom, the first time we try to ask somebody to do something. We forget that and remember, man, that was so terrible. It was way worse than most of what our students are actually doing in our clubs today.
Absolutely. I remember a kid, not last year, year before, got up and he was charged to share the gospel at the last Proclaim week of the year. And it was probably one of the worst gospel presentations I've ever heard. But 6 students came to Christ. Listen, the gospel just penetrates. It penetrates the hearts of people. And no matter how you share it, but regardless is we're proclaiming the name of Jesus. That we're getting students to do it, and the great thing is that we're seeing incredible results over 20 years. We're seeing students who accepted Christ in club who are either in ministry, they're serving as missionaries, or they're out in the business world doing whatever they're doing, and they're serving Jesus. And and that's the kind of that end result that we always try to express to mentors, is that those students who are leading in their first party clubs, those are kids you really kind of don't worry about after graduation. They've taken ownership of their faith, and they're serving, and they're leading, and they're moving, and it's really setting them up for success in some of those ways that we don't really measure. We don't measure, okay, what are the leadership skills that these students are grading? We don't measure, okay, what are they doing after high school? What are they getting involved in? And so, but we hear these stories after the fact, down the road, where we hear a student who was involved and they invited friends, and maybe they shared the gospel, but they led in their club, and they're just doing amazing in life, and they're leading their families, and they're involved in church. And so it gets us fired up, right? It gets us all excited when we see these things happen. And so one of the things we talked about, it was our Connect time at the beginning of this month. We talked really about energy and enthusiasm. We talked about really just investing into that in our clubs, and we talked about people, we talked about food, using themes, the location. Mike, you talked about, hey, we moved outside. Why? The weather was cooler. It was kind of, hey, let's go outside today. Let's not be in the classroom. That kind of stuff. So, man, guys, share a little bit, maybe some of the things you've seen over this last month of just some different ways that clubs have kind of used some different ways of bringing some energy and enthusiasm to their club.
Yeah, so one thing that's been a little different, it's not a huge deal, but we did tacos instead of pizza for a Proclaim week. And you would have thought that the students there had never had a taco before. They were super excited about it. It was like, oh, man, this is awesome. It was just a small change, and it was necessitated just out of timing because we couldn't get a pizza place open early enough. But they were super excited about it. So, I mean, just a small change makes a difference. The other thing I saw was at a middle school club, they finally got permission to hang posters. And I was at the club. I showed up kind of towards the end just to see what was going on. And they were walking around the school hanging up posters, super excited to be able to share that with their friends. It just created an energy level. And they were looking forward to, hey, people are going to see this. We got to be ready to talk to them and invite them and get them here. So those kinds of things they're small. They don't seem like they're huge deals, but they build excitement in students, and it helps them to kind of propel forward into what's coming next.
Absolutely. Mike, Steve, man, what you guys got on that energy, enthusiasm, maybe some things you've seen over the last month that really just kind of, hey, that was really good. We saw the energy level rise, or students really get fired up about it.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you a little more detail on what we did, we normally meet in this like third floor room at Southdade High School. And it's like on the opposite end of campus from the entrance, and there's like thousands of students that go to the school. And so it's always been a challenge. So we talked about it for about a month and a half. Hey, where else could we do the club? And we talked about, hey, can we do it under that pavilion over there? And so, of course, we had to go. We had to ask some principals and make sure everything was cool because it was after school. And we were able to do it. And what was amazing was the energy was interesting because there was a lot of students that were invited just from that group right there that was like kind of hanging, milling around after school. But there were a lot of students that were looking for the First Priority Club but couldn't find it before. And so I talked to at least 3 or 4, and I know some other guys talked to some of the other students that they're like, oh, I want to come now because I've been kind of like wanting to come, but I didn't know what was going on because the school's so large, we'd have to have 1,000 posters just to put them in every single place where people could see them. And so just by being out in a central location, it actually added more believers to the club, and also it added a lot of opportunity to share the gospel. There was some track team there. There was a basketball team members there. And we were able to make sure that they actually heard the gospel because normally they wouldn't go to a club after school. So that was a great way to just kind of mix it up. I did another club where we did donuts, kind of like what you said. Instead of tacos, we did donuts after school. Man, those kids were fired up about those donuts. Of course, that was middle schoolers, right? They love, anything sweet. And so we've done those kinds of things. And one of the things that I've been doing lately, and I'm sure some of you guys have done this before, but it's kind of fun, is like what I do is like when we play a game in the beginning, maybe whoever the winner is of the game, I'll actually give them either, like if it's a team of people, I'll give them an entire box of pizza and say, hey, you guys can go ahead and sit down and eat the pizza now. And everyone else kind of waits afterward to eat the pizza. So it's kind of like, wow, that's really cool. Or, hey, you grab a couple donuts, you get a box of donuts for you and your friends. And then everyone else, don't worry, there's plenty. You'll get them at the end. So it's just kind of like, wow, that's cool. Someone's sitting back there eating the pizza. And by the way, it keeps them quiet. Obviously some wouldn't stay around if everyone got pizza, but it is nice to keep at least one group quiet. So just a couple things to change the energy. People are like, really? I get the whole pizza? That's crazy, And of course, we tell them to share it with their friends, and they always do, which is a great thing to see.
Absolutely. I think coming up this month is a great opportunity in December to, really capitalize on it's Christmas, throwing that big Christmas bash, Christmas party, white elephant gift exchange, taking the invite cards and attaching candy canes to them and passing them out to their friends. Some of those things. I know one of the things that, 2 things that have really popped in this last month. They got a couple schools that want to do Guerrilla Christian Day, where they can invite some of their friends that have questions. They have, kind of have a lot of questions. And so now granted, Palm Beach County, we have PBA, we got professors that, have the ability and the want to be able to come on campus and just kind of like, hey, you guys got questions, and, we got guys who are apologetics, experts. And so they're able to sit up there and just answer any question that's there. And just kind of think outside the box. These kids are, one of the things is they don't know how to answer questions. And so having somebody that is very well versed in apologetics and kind of billing it as kind of like, hey, you got questions about Christianity? Well, we got an expert. He's going to come in, he or she's going to come and share. And you can ask whatever question that you want. And so it allows for allows for conversation and discussion at times. But it's got to be monitored very well. One of the things that one of our high schools kind of does on a regular basis, and so what they do is they have students actually they give them 3x5 cards. Write your question down on that card instead of like just in a random okay, who's got a question? You get a kid that can probably raise their hand. Oh, why does the Bible say homosexuality is wrong? Or they kind of go through a lot of that stuff that can really cause some angst and maybe get back to principal. So kind of filtering through those questions that would be appropriate in that setting versus just saying, hey, just open forum. Those things can cause problems at times, and because I've seen it happen with another school where it was that, and the guy was not very well versed apologetically and said some things, and that club got in trouble and is no longer meeting on that campus. So when those things happen, make sure that there's hey, you're filtering the questions and you have the right person there answering those questions in that forum. Which is really good. But also, too, a couple of our schools actually combine with FCA, Youth for Christ. They combine and do a big, massive end-of-semester Proclaim Week, which is awesome. It's showing unity on campus between the clubs. It's showing that, hey, we're all here. We all have the same goal, the same mission of reaching our campus with the gospel. Just everybody has different veins in how they do it. But bringing that energy, bringing that excitement, location, different food. Man, if your club's on a Tuesday, why wouldn't you not do Taco Tuesday for a Proclaim Week? You can promote that like nobody's business, and everybody's going to show up. Oh, Taco Tuesday in room 308. They'll show up for that, and so
Where's
it's always
the best place
good.
to buy tacos?
Best place to buy Taco Bell, man. Taco Bell. It's like at the end of the day, it's Taco Bell. But hey, so our time is wrapping up, and this was some of the stuff that we talked about in our network meetings. And but really want to say that hey guys, thank you so much for being on. And this will be up on the website amongst all the other ones that we do every Thursday, 10 o'clock. Right here, you can jump online and be live, or you can go back and you can watch them that are archived on the website. That's firstpriority.cc/Mentor Connect. And so you guys can go there, see all these videos, catch up, find some best practices, ways to do it, and maybe even have some questions answered at the same time. And so, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.